Hello! So I've made a little mood board to sort of get the vibe of where we're going with this project. So I've got a fashion illustration I've done of what the final chord should look like. So this is what I mean by a fairly long A-line dress, but with an added underskirt to sort of make it look, well, longer. And as nuns are our primary source of inspiration, I've got a picture of Sister Juana or Sor Juana here. She's one of my favourite nuns because apparently I have that. If you really like feminism and poetry, she's someone great to check out. And I've popped in a reference to Mama Mortier because it is an area of lolita which tends to lean more into darker imagery and Christian imagery and a bit of Catholicism, particularly as it's, to me, one of the most camps versions of Christianity we have. And then we have the colour palette, which is mainly black and white, but we're also leaning into some grey and maybe even some warmer white and ivory type colours. And then we've got a little picture, or a little section of a Gothic church, because I find Gothic architecture very beautiful and I like the shape of it, and I think that can also lend itself well to elements of the chord I'm making. So that is the overall vibe. And now we're going to get to the sewing. So this is the dress that we've got. It's a basic sort of on-pier waistline mini dress in a sort of viscose and linen blend. So it has this really fun sort of texture to it, if you can see. The sort of texture you'd probably see in a lot of linen fabrics. And I think it would be a nice sort of base for my idea. I think this silhouette is a little bit, if you think of a stereotypical Italian Renaissance gown, and since the theme for the meet is fantasy medieval and that term medieval is really loose, I think this fits in with that idea of evoking a vaguely historical, whimsical kind of time. Now, the silhouette in terms of the A-line, quite appropriate. There are dresses you can get for this silhouette, but it is very long, so I've got some more fabric here, and I'm going to take an underskirt to go underneath to essentially just lengthen the dress. And we're also going to make a matching headdress, similar to some sort of nun finery, and then hopefully we'll get to that nun lolita chord I'm going for. The black skirt fabric I have is 1 metre in length by just under 1.5 metres wide. I'm going to cut the skirt at 65 centimetres. That's where my waist is to the hem of the dress. I'm going to use the other half to imitate the ruffle at the bottom of the dress. You can make the skirt using the elastic band method, and you can look at it in further detail in my old video, but today we're using drawstring. I can't find any elastic, so I'm just using a satin ribbon. Just make sure it's longer than the full skirt width to avoid the string getting lost in the waistband. Same as the elastic band method, we're going to make a channel. As the ribbon is 1.5 centimetres in width, the channel will be 2.5 centimetres in width. I'm going to measure it with a pattern master, but you can use a ruler. I draw the line 5 centimetres down, then fold the fabric to the line. Then I took a few millimetres of the raw edge underneath to finish the raw edge. Then I'll pin and sew the channel using the sewing machine or running backstitch, as it'll take some tension.
Bisou. Bisou. Hello.
I'm going to do a similar thing and finish the other raw end. The hem will be more narrow as it doesn't have to be a drawstring channel. You can also get away with a looser stitch like running back stitch if you're hand sewing, as it won't take any tension. Then I'm going to thread through the string. I'm using the safety pin method of pinning it to the string and feeling for the pin as you push through the fabric. On the right side of the fabric, I'm going to mark 5 centimeters on the hem, and this is where we're going to place the ruffle. I'm going to use the remaining fabric to create the ruffle we'll see. I'm going to half this fabric lengthways, finish the edges, then sew them together so it's a super long piece of fabric. I'm going to place the ruffle in the middle of the skirt and pin it and sew it down. To finish, we're going to sew up the final edge of the skirt, but only halfway from hem to halfway to the waist. You won't see it under the dress, and it will help the underskirt be easier to take on and off. So this is what it looks like when it's not being covered by the dress. So yeah, pretty simple underskirt, little drawstring there. I left a little gap here because you won't see it when the dress is over it, and it makes getting in and out of it a lot easier. And just to prevent fraying on the ends of the ribbons, I've just covered them in nail polish because it's not something you're going to see. The ribbon is going to be hidden underneath the dress, so I don't really need to go in and sew the seam neatly closed or anything. It's just for me, so just to get that done quickly, you've done a little nail polish type thing. So that's that. Now we're on to the headdress. For the headdress, I'm going to take 2 pieces of calico and sew them together along 3 of the 4 edges like I'm making a bag lining. Then I'll sew up the final seam. I'm going to pin it to my head under a black sheer veil.
Wow. I never thought I'd be rescued, especially by such a little dragon. What I mean is, I always believed in you, Spyro.
You gotta